College Football 27 is the biggest step forward this series has taken since it came back, but it still also has some things that we can't ignore either. And with the game coming out in about a week, a lot of people want to know what are the best things about the game and what are the worst, because some of these things may be deal breakers for somebody, whereas for somebody else it may not be a big deal. So let's start with the 5 best things, starting with number 1. Dynasty finally feels like a program builder. This is something a lot of us have been asking for, and this is the best part about the game as a whole, in my opinion. Last year, Dynasty was a solid foundation, but one of the biggest complaints was that once you got a few years into a save, every rebuild started to feel pretty similar. But this year, EA has solved that, in my opinion, by adding several systems that give schools more identity. Now, the biggest addition is the overall theme with Dynasty this year, which is Dynasty Blueprint. Every school now has a point-based system where you're earning Blueprint points by accomplishing different goals throughout your dynasty. And those points can be invested in various areas of your program, like upgrading facilities, your NIL for recruiting, which is huge this year, paying your coaching staff, and more. And on top of that, they've added athletic director expectations, which means you're no longer just chasing a national championship every season, because different schools are going to have different priorities and success metrics. Rebuilding schools might just want you to win more conference games or make sure you win your rivalry game. Some schools are going to want to make sure you're hitting certain recruiting benchmarks, and obviously the powerhouses are expecting championships. And aside from this, they also expanded the coaching side of things with new progression paths and ways to build your staff and program infrastructure, which includes some of that Dynasty Blueprint money system. Now you got to make decisions where to invest your Blueprint points. You got to balance the 80 expectation. You've got to invest money into your roster, not only just to recruit players, but to keep them from transferring. You've got to invest money into facilities to help with wear and tear, to help with recruiting, to help with developing players, but you also have to invest money into your staff for a bunch of different reasons as well. So while in the past couple of years recruiting was really the backbone of the mode, now the experience is kind of going a lot further than that, and the backbone of the mode feels like running the entire program and not just trying to build the best roster. Number 2 on the 5 best things for College Football 27 is that Road to Glory finally has more to do. And there are still some things missing here, which we'll talk about later in the video, don't worry. But they've done a lot of good stuff this year, and it is definitely by far the best Road to Glory has been since the series returned. And while some things are still missing from older games, there's also some things here that the older games didn't have either, so there is a balance. This year, they've introduced several new progression systems, including the draft stock that you can track throughout your entire career, your legacy score, which you can track as well. There's more NIL opportunities and expanded transfer portal decisions. The draft stock in particular I really love, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Your performance throughout your college career impacts where scouts view you and where you could potentially land at the next level, while the legacy score gives you another long-term objective by tracking the impact and accomplishments of your college career. Instead of simply trying to just raise your overall rating, you're trying to actually build a resume. The expansion of the NIL system is also really good here, giving you more opportunities to earn deals and manage different aspects of your players' off-field success. And then you've got the transfer portal, which should create more interesting career paths if things aren't working out at your current school. And that's before we even get to the fact that there are 3 new playable positions. Finally, this was one of the biggest gripes I've had about the series over the last 2 years. Now you can play as an edge rusher, a tight end, and a free safety, which were the 3 biggest positions that were missing. And there's also an entire new player builder, a lot of new customization that you can do with your characters in terms of faces, hair, and equipment. And yes, while there are still some things missing that we're going to get to in a little bit, Road to Glory is looking much better this year than it has in the past too. Hey, if you're still here at this point of the video and you haven't subscribed, you might as well go ahead, subscribe, join the family. That way you're always up to date on all the latest college football news and updates that are going to be dropping all year long. I really appreciate the support, and you can always unsub at any time if you get tired of the videos. Number 3 is one of my favorites this year. Team Builder is on another level. We've got to talk about the Team Builder improvements, and the headline, of course, is going to be Stadium Builder. It finally lets you create a custom home for your program instead of borrowing an existing stadium or using one of the generic ones. But it's not just about Stadium Builder, because they also put a focus on atmosphere this year inside of Team Builder, which was missing in the previous 2 versions of the game. You can now customize your crowd colors, create your own stripe outs, and even set conditions for when those stripe outs happen. So maybe your crowd only does a special look during a rivalry game or a top 25 matchup. You can set all of that now. But what else is really cool here is they added a soundscape creator where you can customize things like crowd chants, band music, fight songs, PA announcements, and other audio that's going to play throughout the game. They've given a ton of assets here that you can use to really make your environment feel unique. But there's also other little details here that make it great as well. They expanded the Dynasty and Road to Glory integration here. So in Dynasty, you've got custom historical records now, location-based weather and recruiting, and you got the ability to update your team builder school as your Dynasty progresses. So if you want to start in a small stadium and then build your team up, you can then create a new bigger stadium later on, which is awesome. You can also create new uniforms later into your Dynasty as well. And inside of Road to Glory, you can replace all of the high school teams with custom teams. You can also integrate a team builder FBS team inside of Road to Glory and actually have them recruit you. All these things make team builders so much better this year, and it's one of my favorite parts about the game. Number 4, we have to talk about the gameplay improvements. Now, gameplay is always going to be a very controversial topic with these football games. Some people love the way the game plays, some people hate it. Everybody wants different things out of the gameplay, so I think it's truly hard to just definitively say gameplay is good or gameplay is bad. There are some things that are objectively good and bad, but there's a lot of opinions that go into how the game should play, how a player should react, how easy or hard it should be. But one thing is for sure, they made this the smartest football game that they've ever released, at least in my opinion. And it's still early. As we play the game months into release, different things could start to unveil themselves and we could discover new problems. That's always a possibility. Heck, with updates, things can change as well. But in terms of what they did, especially on the defensive side of the ball this year, we have more options than ever to shut down any type of popular offense. They've given us tons of new coaching adjustments. They've made the defense work harder in zone coverage to look for work. Now, is it going to be perfect every play? No, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not perfect every play, but it's much better than it has been. You've got aggressive and conservative coverage options now to take away certain areas of the field better than before. You've got a bunch of different match checks for things like cover 4 and cover 6 coverages versus the popular formations like bunch and trips, where you can set them up to specifically take away popular concepts that people like to spam. You've even got plaster logic, which is going to greatly help against people that like to roll out and let the play break down every single time. And the biggest thing here is the fact that they added custom adjustments. That is one of the biggest things we've been asking for in a football game forever, and we finally have it. You can set custom adjustments on both offense and defense from your settings menu so that when you go into a game, you can quickly audible to different plays and already have all of your inputs there. Instead of having to hot route 5 things on an offensive play or make 6 different adjustments to your defense to stop a popular concept, you can just click 2 buttons and your team is now in that play. This is going to create a whole new level of strategy we have never seen in an EA football game, and that I'm planting my flag on because that's just true. Another great mention here with gameplay is timing-based catching. Now with those one-on-one balls, you have control on either side. A lot of people say, I can't win a 50-50 ball. It's always incomplete or intercepted. And then you've got other people that say, there's too many 50-50 balls caught. Again, it comes down to the opinions of how you want the game to play. Well, now there's timing-based catching. Get in position, time it right, and you have a much better chance of coming down with the ball on either side. Now, all that stuff is great, but number 5 is something that is really important to me, and that is the little things. I think they did a lot of the little things right this year. And no, that doesn't mean that they've done all of the little things. There's going to be hundreds of little things you can add to the game until the end of time. There's always more that you can do. There's always deeper you can go. But this year they did a lot of little things that I really enjoy, like all of the updated equipment. This is the most equipment we've seen updated from one cycle to another. So now players can look more realistic to how they do in real life. And for your created players, you can make them look exactly how you want. There's one leg sleeves, hanging mouthpieces, better crop jerseys, new visors, new cleats, better pad and helmet fit. The list goes on and on. They really did a lot of work this year to make sure the equipment customization was more up to par than it was in the past 2 years. Another little detail I love is what they did with coach mode. They revamped it, giving us new cameras that we can watch from the sideline or the press box like a coach or a coordinator. They've also added a bunch of different settings and options so that it now feels like a true coach mode. They added mascot mashup, of course, which has been heavily requested from a lot of people. Now, of course, some people think this is stupid, but let's be honest, it is a fun thing that a lot of people want to just play around and mess around with. I have no problem with this being in the game. If you don't like it, don't play it. But for those that like to just have some fun and not take the game too seriously, this is the perfect mode. And another little detail that is really going under the radar, in my opinion, is some of the changes they've made to the road to the college football playoff mode. One of my biggest gripes the last few years is that you couldn't change playbooks, you couldn't get alternate uniforms. This year, they've kind of created a system where you can unlock these things by playing the mode. Now, I will say I wish some of this stuff was just available just to hop in the mode and get right away, but unlocking it does kind of give you more of a reason to play. It gives you something to go after, so you can now get those alternate uniforms. You can unlock alternate playbooks for teams if you win a certain amount of games with them, I believe. So it definitely adds another layer of interest into the mode, in my opinion. Now, we talked about the good, we also got to talk about the bad, and we have to start with some of the things that Road to Glory is still missing. Like I said, I think Road to Glory is a lot better this year, but there are still some important things that aren't there that people want. And the biggest disappointment for me and a lot of people is that we still don't have a full, true high school experience. Don't get me wrong, they added some good stuff this year, but I think the biggest thing that most people want is a full high school experience. They want to play a full season, or heck, maybe even multiple seasons, and we're just still not quite there. We still have the moment system, which for me personally, I think is okay, because I don't really like playing the full season, but I know a lot of people do. It really just depends on the type of gamer you are. That's why I think we need the option. If you want to just play the moments, that should be an option. If you want to play a full season or two, that should also be an option, and I hope they add that eventually. And as far as I can tell, there's still no way to play as a two-way player, which I really think is something that needs to be there. That would make the mode so much more fun for a lot of people. And I still can't see any way to do kick or punt returns, which to me is a very big omission that just should not still be there. So if I have to talk about things that are bad about the game, these things that are missing from Road to Glory, I just have to say that it is something that disappoints me. Number 2, the lack of dynamic recruiting. This is another thing that people have asked about for a while. And look, I think Dynasty Mode got some great upgrades this year. In fact, it was number 1 on my best list for the game, but I know a lot of people want more dynamic recruiting, and that still doesn't seem to be there this year. Of course, they did a lot with overhauling the blueprint system and making it more about running a team this year. So while recruiting was mainly NIL focused, I think going forward, they're going to get more into the details of recruiting for the following editions of the game, like having those dynamic pipelines, having the ability to promise players, having the ability to take players with you as a coach if you transfer. Those are the little things that will really take Dynasty from being like a 8.5, 9 out of 10 to being a 9.5 out of 10. I'm not going to say anything can be 10 out of 10 because there's always room for improvement, but right now Dynasty's in a great spot. But if you add those little details and make recruiting and make the player-coach relationship a little more dynamic, you're really hitting on those small details that are still missing that would take Dynasty to another level. Number 3, customization is still limited. Now, yes, we got a lot of equipment this year, which is great. We got some new hairstyles and faces and things like that. We got better looking recruits, but there's still a lot of areas of customization that is still very limited. And I know some of this EA has to be careful with because of how they got sued the last time around, and they want to make sure that they're following everything the right way. But we still can't create a recruit, which is a huge thing for people. We still can't edit recruits before they're actually on the team, which for some people, they might say, well, why does that matter? You can just edit them once they're on your team. You can change everything you want about them for the most part, but people would like to edit recruits while they're still in the recruiting pool, because you can go make a crazy player and then try to go recruit him, because other schools are obviously going to be trying to get him as well. So that just adds a little bit more fun to the recruiting process. You still can't just create a player in general. Obviously, we know they don't want people creating guys that could maybe opt out of the game or popular high school recruits, but we need to find a way to have a middle ground here. There's obviously still no customization for NIL players in terms of adjusting their body types, their animations, their hair, their faces. I don't really know that we're ever going to get this because they want to make sure that the NIL players are represented accurately, and I know we can argue that some of them aren't represented accurately because there's so many players, it's almost impossible to represent 10,000 plus guys accurately from top to bottom, which is why we would like that control to go in and edit some of those players and make them look better. I don't know if they're going to get us that, but at the end of the day, customization being limited is still going to be something that is a deal breaker for a lot of people, so I have to talk about it. Number 4, there are still no dynamic crowds. This is another one of the big things that's still missing, in my opinion, for presentation. Now, while presentation across the board is good and it gets better every year, we've got a lot of team traditions, the mascots, the sounds, the music, we got all that stuff, but dynamic crowds is kind of the big thing that's still missing. I mean, this year we got dynamic weather, which looks amazing. We've got dynamic lighting last year, which looks amazing. The last real dynamic thing that is missing from presentation are the crowds. We should see the crowds leaving the game during a blowout or if the weather's bad. And it might sound like a little thing, but for a lot of people, this is a huge immersion detail. So I would like to see this added at some point. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. Obviously in Madden, the NFL doesn't allow this. I don't know if that's the case with college, because teams do have some say in how they're represented. So if a team says, hey, I don't want my crowd to empty out, they might not be able to put that in, but I don't know that that's exactly something that's standing in the way of them. I'm just saying it could potentially be something. And also to go along with this, there's still no field storming. And that's another one that I don't really know if they're going to add, because some teams might just not want that to be in the game because it's not something that a lot of teams actually like. But again, this could be a deal breaker for somebody, so I have to mention it. And the number 5th worst thing is I feel the game is still lacking football history. And what do I mean by this? Well, there's still nothing like an errors mode. There's no historic teams. There's no Heisman moments or Heisman challenge. And look, I know with some of this, it's probably very hard to do. You can't license full historic football teams. It's too many players, too many teams. And you could license some of the players, but then it might feel incomplete. I still feel like there has to be a workaround here. I think if you can loosen up a couple of things on this list, like player creation a little bit more, you can license some players and then have the fans recreate the rest of them. And look, the game is coming to PC this year, so people are going to put non-licensed players into the game anyway. There's no way around that. So I think with the game coming to PC, that is a good sign that the future for console means we'll probably get some of these things. But the game really needs to support football history a little bit better. I don't think it's really a deal breaker for me personally, but for some people it is. They want historic teams, or at least all-time teams. They want Heisman moments. They want those details that celebrate the history of the game, especially when you factor in that this game in particular was gone for 10 years. So there's a lot of history in that 10 years that we did not get to play in video game form because the game didn't exist. So we couldn't play with 2019 LSU, for example, and we'd like to do that. So I would like to see them sometime in the future figure out a way to at least find a middle ground on this, because football history is still important and fun to have in a video game. Now, I talked about how great Dynasty Mode as a whole is this year, and you really need to find out more about it to truly understand exactly what I'm talking about, and you can do that by checking out this video right here on the screen.